Good morning to everyone. I want to thank you for being here. This is quite a media turnout. I want to acknowledge that two of our commissioners are with us today. Commissioner Ings, who once served this department in a more formal capacity, and of course Commissioner Stewart, who's here. Thank you for being here as well. The Centennial Update gives us the opportunity to highlight the hard work of the Orlando Police Department and our continued relentless fight against crime. But it's a great time for us to reflect on last year and then look ahead to next year and years beyond. And as mayor and our commission, our top priority is the safety of our community. That's always the #1 mission of the municipal government. Keeping Orlando safe is absolutely job one. And over the past few years, we've seen dramatic increases in our population. We've seen increases in the new businesses located here. We've seen an increase to record numbers of visitors to our community. And yet the Orlando Police Department continues to be vigilant in protecting everyone in Orlando, both residents and visitors. And I'm proud of the continued commitment of Chief Rooney and our officers who serve the residents, businesses, and visitors on a 24/7 basis. And I'm really proud of some of the achievements from this year that I know are going to be highlighted. But our OPD and our officers continue to raise the bar in excellence. Just this past year, several of our officers received international and state recognition for their exemplary work in homicide investigation and human trafficking and in domestic violence. And the department was also recognized again for our community engagement efforts, receiving the very #1 spot in National Night Out for a city of our size and being recognized as one of the top 50 departments in the country for our utilization of social media. The Chief and I don't have anything really to do with that. We have people that can do that.
Yes, indeed.
Over the past several years, our police department has focused on taking an active role not in just responding to crime, but from preventing crime. We work with our at-risk youth. Andy Elski is here, who does the dragon boating, and that has been a wonderful success, combining at-risk youth with our OPD and highlighting it and traveling. And I know that those youth have had great experiences through that, so thank you for being here, Andy. To educating our community on identifying signs of domestic violence. I know there's been many Saturdays where OPD's been out putting out thousands, literally tens of thousands of door hangers trying to educate our community and working with Harvard House. And taking a stand against illegal guns, which I'm sure the Chief is going to point some of those out over on the table. Our streets are safer due to these efforts, and the proof is in the number, and violent crime continues to decrease year over year over year. But while we continue to see dramatic reductions in violent crime, attacking property crime continues to be one of our most challenging focuses. Some may consider this a low priority crime when it's not violent, but tell that to any family who's had their house broken into, intruded into, and that feeling of violation, not just the possessions that are taken, but that violation of having somebody actually enter your home or even your car. So Orlando will not tolerate crime anywhere in our community, and that's why OPD continues to put even more resources into the fight against property crime. In this past year, we continue to focus on a regional approach. In any speech I give, I talk about partnership and collaboration and how we work together with our neighboring counties and cities. And just this past year, through our joint homicide task force with Ocoee, Winter Park, Apopka, and OPD, our homicide solve rate was 75%, which is truly remarkable and far above the national average. We also work with other police departments across the state in training activities. And just this past year, OPD held more than 50 training sessions on human trafficking statewide, and we make this facility available. I was just talking to the Chief about how many other forces have used our training facility, and virtually every police force in Orange County and the 3-county area has made use of this marvelous facility, and I hope you'll get an opportunity to tour it and see what things we can do to make sure that our officers are the best prepared of any in the country. So as the new year begins, we're faced with new challenges and opportunities. The police department will continue to work diligently in protecting our community. We'll continue to invest in the best tools, the best technology, and the best training. And part of that will involve the planning for a new police headquarters with a location that is more accessible for our residents and with the benefit of accommodating more opportunities for technology-based policing. Again, I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank the media for being a partner with OPD. There are certainly times when it is very important to get information out to citizens or just let them know what's going on where all the red and blue lights happen to be. So I want you to know that you do play a critical role in keeping our community safe as well. So at this time, I'd like to call on the best police chief in the state of Florida, Chief Paul Reed.
I am so humbled to be the Orlando Police Chief. I'm so proud every day when I come to work. And when we look back, this is like our report card for 2013. When we look back and just look at what we've accomplished in the past year, it's incredible. And I'm blessed. And every day I don't take it lightly. I'm proud of the hard work that all the sworn and civilian members of the Orlando Police Department do on a daily basis. So with that, let's just talk. We've had a very busy year. Looking at the numbers, almost 750,000 calls coming into the Orlando Police Department. 300,000 were 911 calls. We stopped 70,000 traffic stops, 16,600 arrests. So just those numbers are incredible. Over 750,000 calls came in. 300,000 of those were 911 calls. 70,000 traffic stops, 16,600 physical arrests. We've had a very busy year, and you're going to see it's been a very productive year. Crime. Violent crime, the good news is violent crime is down 7%. What does that mean, Rooney? 7%, what does that mean? What is violent crime? Well, violent crimes are going to be your robberies, your aggravated assaults, your sexual offenses, and your homicide. Very serious crime. So to have a reduction in violent crimes year after year is very, very rewarding, and we're down 7%. In fact, our homicides from 2012 to 2013 are down 30%. A huge reduction in our homicides. Person robberies are down, but what's picking up there, you probably have noticed it in the last few months, are the commercial robberies, the sandwich shops, the hotel robberies. So we're paying special attention to the commercial robberies as we speak. Property crimes, Mayor touched on this, slight increase, 0.5%. With that, residential burglaries are down. We concentrated on residential burglaries. They're actually down 10%. Now, what's up are the vehicle burglaries. Folks not leaving securing their vehicles, leaving iPads and purses and valuables in plain view, and that's up 13%, our vehicle burglaries. But really what's hurting us in that statistic in property crime is thefts of cell phones. Folks leaving it on a table at a restaurant, and somebody steals them, picking them out of their purse and so forth. That's really driven that number up. In fact, I heard a very interesting statistic. Every minute in the United States, 113 cell phones are stolen. Every minute in the United States, 113 cell phones are stolen. And it was on Good Morning America the other morning, and we had done some research as well. And that's really our thefts, we call pickpocketing, where they just reach in and pull it out of a purse, is up over 50%. But the bottom line is total crime is down 0.5%. Again, and just going back to the violent crime, we've had about 177, if you subtract that, about 177 less violent crimes between 2012 and 2013. And again, when you're talking violent crimes, you're talking the robberies, the ag assaults, sexual offenses, and homicide, very serious. What we wanted to do this year was just kind of, and the mayor touched on it, is just kind of compare the violent crime and property crime with the service population. And the mayor already touched on it, but with the increase in residents, business, the growth, the tourism growth, employment growth, obviously you see the spike, and that's a good thing, in our service population between 2011 and 2012, and then again, another increase in 2013. Still maintaining our sworn staff, civilian staff, to target violent crime. And the next two slides are pretty much the same thing. It goes into the property crime. Again, slight increase of 0.5%. but the service population's gone up in the last 2 years. And then overall, again, overall crime is down 0.5%, and you still see the service population increasing. Challenges in 2013. I'm going to introduce our internal affairs manager, Dwayne Rivers, who was hired in 2004 by then Chief Mike McCoy, and he was only one of 3 civilian internal affairs managers in the country. And Dwayne's going to highlight some of the cases. We do this every year. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. Well, you're going to hear some of the ugly incidents involving several officers. But the key is how do we respond? How did we respond to that? When we talk about being transparent, we talk about being open, we talk about doing thorough investigations, complete investigations. That's how you need to hold us accountable. When we have an incident involving an officer who does something obviously very serious, how do we respond to that? So with that, Dwayne Rivers.
The function of internal affairs is to protect the integrity of the Langley Police Department by thoroughly and impartially investigating allegations of misconduct. We have a long-standing reputation of fairly investigating allegations of police misconduct and disciplining officers when appropriate. Our findings are based on the facts of the investigation, and all investigations are done with complete autonomy. In 2013, several of those investigations led to terminations and in some instances criminal prosecution of police officers. Behind me on the screen are examples of 4 officers that, based on internal investigation, were terminated. The first one, Officer Sears, was arrested twice for allegations of domestic violence. There was a police officer that submitted false pay invoices. Officer Dante Candelaria was terminated for a truthfulness issue, malingering. And the final one you see, Officer Zinga, was terminated based on allegations of racial profiling. While we are committed to being transparent, understand that all internal investigations are confidential by law until completed and determined to be public record. We discipline our officers when appropriate, and we we support the actions of our officers when the facts of the investigation determine that there was no violation of policy. One thing we have to realize are all officers are human. If I can quote Los Angeles Police Chief William Parker, we'll always have cases like this because we have one big problem in selecting police officers. We have to recruit from the human race. But in saying that, we are committed to policing our own and protecting the integrity of the Langley Police Department.
Okay, I want to just touch on officer safety. When I was sworn in 3 years ago, I stood up there and I said my #1 priority was officer safety, and I haven't wavered from that. One of the first things I did was the mandate for the ballistic vest. If you look at 2012 alone, 33 officers' lives were saved in 2012 by the ballistic vest. So I think it goes without saying how important it is to with the vest and officer safety. Now we had, I'm not gonna say we haven't. This past year was very scary, and I want to highlight 4 incidents that happened in 2013. And the first one involved a sergeant working off duty up in Baldwin Park, Kevin Roberson. Nice afternoon, just basically traffic detail, extra duty position, and he stopped an individual, gave that individual a citation. That individual then went back home, got a little scooter out of the garage, got a mask out, and armed himself with a handgun. He did the same violation again when Sergeant Roberson stopped him. He pulled out that gun, the fight was on, and he fired 2 rounds at Kevin Roberson as they were fighting. Luckily, the rounds went in between his legs, and a retired FHP trooper came out of her house. The rounds actually went into her house and provided assistance with him. Very scary situation, very scary situation. So I'm very passionate about officer safety, and this is why. The second case involved Officer Chris Brilliant, 4th of July, and if you notice, there's 3 very near fatalities of officers in July alone. But 4th of July, Officer Brilliant makes a traffic stop. Remember I talked about traffic stops, 70,000 a year. We do a lot of traffic stops. And they could be very, very dangerous. Does a traffic stop and the driver starts shooting at the officer. Thank God he missed Officer Chris Brilliant. The driver then took off and ran into an innocent driver on Colonial and Pine Hills area, killing a passenger of that vehicle. If you notice, State Attorney Jeff Ashton actually prosecuted that case, and that individual responsible just got a lifetime sentence. And we're proud of State Attorney Jeff Ashton for doing that. And that, a lot of that, what he talked about was he's going to get in the courtroom. Well, that's a great example of that. The second incident, again, a traffic stop. Brian Wood and his partner stop a vehicle down by the airport off South Cimarron. Single driver or single occupant of the vehicle. They smell marijuana. They ask the driver to step out. And when the driver steps out, he pushes off on the officers and takes off running. There's a long foot pursuit. The officer deploys his taser. Didn't have the desired effect. Only one prong made contact. And then the fight was on. And as the fight was on, this individual reaches into his waistband and pulls out a .40 cal Sig Sauer and pulls the trigger within inches of Brian's face. The firearm malfunctions. Thank God, it malfunctions, and it doesn't go off and it doesn't injure the officer. But the fight's still on, and the subject then bites Officer Wood several times in the arm. And I'm setting this all up because you're going to see a video that kind of goes over some of these news stories. And then the third incident, of course, was July 23rd, involving Jason Haycheck. Again, a traffic stop. Subject runs from the car, fires 3 rounds at Jason. 1 round strikes him above the gun belt and below the vest. But Jason does one heck of a job calling out description, direction of travel, and very clear on the radio. And then the subject runs into a house. There's a young child in the house. So after several hours of negotiating, we're able to get that individual out by the name of Patterson and arrest him for that. And good news is Jason's back to work full duty now. And I tell you all that because this is what we live. This, as a chief, I'll tell you, my phone rings all night long. That's what I signed up to do. But the biggest worry I have are obviously these cases. When I get called, and the first thing the watch planners are trained to do is say, the officers are okay, we just had to shoot a dog. The officers are okay, we just ran over something. The officers are okay, but they got to go to the hospital, get stitched up. And I'm passionate about this. Officer safety is my #1 priority. It's going to continue to be my #1 priority, and this is why. And then, of course, even the canine. The dog was tried to drown the dog, some of these suspects. And we'll talk about why I think some of the violent criminals, even though violent crime is down 7%, some of the individuals we're dealing with are extremely, extremely violent. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So I wanted to set up the video for you, and we'll just roll right into that.
43,
I have grave concern. You may have heard this before, but I have grave concern with the number of officer-involved shootings.
Orlando police have ID'd the 2 men shot last night by their drug unit. 1 man has died from his wounds.
The men and women of the Orange County Sheriff's Office would like to offer their sincere condolences to Chief McCoy, the Orlando Police Department family, and especially the Gordon family.
The murder of Al Gordon, Officer Al Gordon, is no exception. It's a crime against the community. He was a family man. He had 3 children.
Headquarters notifying county, everybody is officer down. All right, brother, where you at? I'm coming down Bruton.
Officer George DeSilvia was on the job for less than a year when he was shot and killed in the line of duty. He left behind a wife and 3 young children.
This officer did such a good job after getting shot, laying in the bushes, to give out an exact location, to give out suspect information.
So I'm shot twice.
Jason, keep talking to us, buddy. You're okay, buddy. Hang in there. Keep talking to us.
Yeah, we have a picture of that gun. Police say 2 officers were in a life-and-death struggle with a man who's a convicted felon.
William Cates' battered face tells the story. Busted up and taken down by the cop he's accused of trying to kill.
I think all of our OPD officers are heroes and heroines every day, and this event just calls attention to their heroic duty. They're heroic every time they step in the car.
Had the suspect's gun not malfunctioned, we would probably be discussing an in-the-line-of-duty death.
The officer gave chase. The driver of that motorized scooter crashed. The officer violently fought with that suspect. suspect. The suspect then pulled out a gun and opened fire on that officer.
Horsford whipped out a gun, pulled the trigger, and got nothing.
This man was trying to shoot and kill them.
It is a senseless killing. It shouldn't have occurred. And while we're talking about a police officer today, we could be talking about anybody tomorrow.
Still updating on his condition. He is on a ventilator at this time, but expected to survive.
We got an officer down. Tell him to expedite.
Even though violent crime is down, some of the individuals we're dealing with, especially the individuals who want to hurt us, kill us, shoot at us, stab us, are very violent. And if you look at this just for a second, we had 6 officer-involved shootings in 2013 with 8 suspects. 6 officer-involved shootings with 8 suspects. And look at their felony charges and misdemeanor charges. 83 felony charges, 61 misdemeanor charges. All right, Rooney, why is that? Why do you think that that's occurring? And I tell you, it's a number of reasons. One is, some of these individuals do not value human life. Years ago, it may have been property. If it wasn't chained down, it was taken. Now it's human life. They just don't value human life. They have no respect. Number 2, they have no respect for law enforcement. Number 3, they have no fear of going back to prison. Now, we've interviewed these individuals, and it means nothing to them. 17 years in prison, they get out, they're doing robberies again, they're shooting, guns, drugs, and everything else. It means nothing to them to go back. Number 4, years ago they had a grandfather, grandmother, church member, somebody to pull them back in and say, you need to straighten out. You're on the wrong road. Then the last one is our intelligence-led policing is putting us in these places where these crimes are occurring, where there's gunfire and everything else. A lot of times we're calling it in on the radio. This morning, perfect example. Deputy Chief Rob Pigman's doing an inspection with his chain of command in Paramore. And as they're doing an inspection, they hear gunshots. They weren't called in yet. They actually hear the gunshots. They go to the scene. Of course, they stopped inspection. We didn't care how shiny your shoes were at that time. They stopped the inspection. They went, set it all up, cordoned, and were able to apprehend the individual responsible for the shooting. A female got shot. Actually, Lieutenant Barb Jones spotted the shooter hiding on the side of a house. The female got shot. She's at the hospital right now, stable condition. But that's what I'm saying. Now that, we didn't strategically set the inspection up there, but we're out there. We are out there. That's just one example. We are out there where these crimes are committing, hotspots we call them, and that's why we're coming up on this. So basically that's now what we're doing about it. I met with Jeff Ashman at the beginning of the year. I showed him this list of officer-involved shootings, the felony histories, and we're working a lot closer with him now. When we get, it's called WOW, worst of worst criminal, we flag it, and then their office takes a harder look at it to keep these folks off the street. At this point, I'd like to introduce Captain Rich Ring from our training, professional standards and training section. And Rich is going to talk about officer safety and some other things. Thanks, Rich.
First off, thank you, Chief Rooney, for giving me a chance to brag about my guys. Nobody knows, if anybody knows me, knows there's one thing I like to do. I like to brag about great work. Our training staff, train today to win tomorrow. Uniforms and officers here said that, and we've heard that before. Train today, win tomorrow. In other words, when we go and we train, we're training because we may be in a fight for our life tomorrow. We take it very seriously at the Orlando Police Department, and because we take it so serious, we have probably the, I'm not going to say probably, I brag, okay? We have the best training staff in the country. I have 12 trainers with 212 years of law enforcement experience combined. Their average experience is almost 18 years. They, day in and day out, come to me with ideas on how we can train our officers to be better officers and to be safer officers, with the emphasis on the fact that every one of our officers is entitled to come to work and then go home. You heard about all the shootings, you heard about all the incidents where officers were attacked, unnecessarily attacked by people that want to do nothing to them but hurt them or kill them. Our officers' response to those situations is not an accident. It's not an accident. It's because we train hard. Chief Rooney, when I took this job, he said, Rich, I want to make sure you understand something. Officer safety is our #1 priority. We will do what we can do, everything we can do to make sure our officers are safe. So my training staff has those marching orders. What do? You're in a $16 billion building. that we use to train on how to deal with deadly force situations. Our officers, when they're encountered or they're encountered by a person who wants to do them harm, they know what to expect. They know how to react, and they know how to take action. There's no hesitation. They're trained. If you go out there afterwards, after the presentation today, you have an opportunity to see some of our Course of the Fire. We don't just stand in front of paper and put holes in paper. We move, we shoot pop-up targets, we shoot in the dark, we shoot in low light, we shoot with red lights, we shoot cars. We bring cars in the range, and we shoot at cars. Some people probably laughing because I'm pretty good at shooting at cars. That's an inside joke. We take it very seriously, and I'm very blessed to be in charge of our training. Our scorecard, and this is a report card sheet. I think the training section gets an A+ for this year because we had 8 people try to harm our officers, and all 8 people were shot, and they were stopped, plain and simple. Part of my responsibilities in training is that I have to look at the training and wellness policy. When we saw this policy and we were working on it, and we had an officer, actually Detective Monaco, only came to us and said, "Hey, I think we're missing something here. We can do better for our officers." Physical fitness has always been emphasized. Go out there, run, jump, and do all that kind of stuff. But we're kind of maybe we could have done a better job with emotional and mental fitness. Monica came up with a program using officers, you see their names up there, that lost their jobs because they had problems, they had demons that they wrestled with, and they didn't know how to win the fight. They just didn't know how to. The seminar was presented to all of our managers and our supervisors, and now today I will guarantee you that our officers, our supervisors, and our managers know better how to handle situations when we see an officer that's in trouble, how to get them help, and how to make a difference. There's nothing sadder in my 25 years than when you see an officer. I'll use Danny as a good example. He was a good friend of mine. We did a lot for him, but could we have done more? I think our awareness is acute today, and I think we're going to do a great job in the future.
Good morning. I'm Carl Metzger, the Deputy Chief over the Administrative Services Bureau, and the recruiting unit is one of my units. When we talk about training and we talk about the caliber of the Orlando Police Department, in my view, it all starts with the quality of our personnel, and that's what recruiting is all about. Recruiting's marching orders this year were go out and find the best of the best, and they scoured Central Florida and beyond to find the top candidates. And this we're talking about sworn police officers. They processed almost 3,500 applicants to find 37 sworn officers. 7 of those officers we hired away from other agencies, shame on us, and 7 were military veterans. Very proud of this group of 37. If you look at their level of education, experience, community service, fitness, high caliber people, and they're the future of this agency. I'm very proud of them. If you look at our vehicle, our new recruiting vehicle, this is one of the means, one of the tools that recruiting uses to get the word out that we're looking for top candidates. And it does distinguish the Orlando Police Department from other agencies who are competing from the same pool of high quality candidates. Next. Okay. OPD strives to hire a force reflective of the diversity of our community. In recruiting, worked hard to find a diverse group of highly qualified candidates. The Women's Forum was one example of the 30 community events that recruiting went out to try to find the candidates. This is the second year that we held the Women's Forum. Highly successful event. Over 100 women participated, and it resulted in 16 women submitting applications to be sworn police officers. If you see, we had a panel of experienced OPD officers, all women, and they answered questions from the attendees about the challenges faced as women in law enforcement. It was a very successful event, and we're looking forward to holding our third Women's Forum in the summer of this year. Communications, a vital part of OPD, and our 94 employees did an exemplary job this year. Very proud of them. 769,000 calls for service came in this year. It's a 1% increase over 2012, and almost 300,000 911 calls came in, which was a 2% increase over 2012. So more calls this year, same level of staffing, same great service. What really stuck out to me, they did all of this with virtually no complaints. Outstanding job. Okay, now we're going to play a tape, and I'm going to set it up for you. This is a home invasion call. It's a 911 call. Our operator is Laura Rivera. We're going to play a minute and a half of it. 6 subjects kicked in a door in southeast Orlando. They're looking for drugs and money, and they drag one of the victims outside. And that's when this call comes in. Go ahead.
I just said my brother-in-law was kidnapped. We were robbed. People just came in with guns, beat up my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law was kidnapped right now. We're just with a gunshot off. Right now, they just left right now. How old is your brother-in-law? He's only 18. He's only 18 years old. They came in with guns. I'm sorry?
Okay, hold on a second. Let me get this person line. Don't hang up, okay? Stay on the phone. We don't hang up.
Okay, and let me give you the rest of the story. I don't want to leave you hanging. After they dragged one of the victims outside, he was able to break free and run for it. And then they fired a shot at him. Did not hit him. He got away. None of the victims were seriously injured. Our detectives responded, did a great job following up, identified one of the bad guys. Unfortunately, due to victim lack of cooperation, this case wasn't able to be prosecuted by the state attorney's office. And it was gang-related in some way. So, but it is indicative of the great job that our 911 operators do, calming people down and getting the information we need to get the call out. Okay. And this was exciting for us. Phyllis White, one of our supervisors in the communications division, on February 22nd of 2013, Phyllis answered a 911 call from a woman having a seizure. Before this woman could provide her address, she fell out and dropped the phone and left an open line. Phyllis spent the next 45 minutes digging into where this woman could be. She exhausted every possible means to locate her. Finally, she called an apartment complex leasing office and talked to someone who knew where this woman lived, gave an apartment number. Phyllis provided that to our patrol officers. They went out, made entry, found this woman on the ground, unconscious. The patrol officers got her medical assistance, ultimately got to a hospital. She survived and is with us today. And Phyllis undoubtedly saved this woman's life because she went above and beyond in her efforts. And she was nationally recognized for professionalism and dedication. Outstanding work. And again, it is representative of the outstanding work that our communications people do each and every day, answering those 769,000 calls coming. And that's all I have.
It's interesting that Captain Reed would mention fitness, so I'm going to stand back a little bit so I appear slimmer. I'm Deputy Chief Charles Robinson, and I have the Investigative Services Bureau. I have quite a bit of information, so buckle in, sit tight, and hang on. This year we received 610 crime guns. Crime guns are guns which are used in the commission of crimes that are stolen or that are stolen or those that are illegally possessed, many times by convicted felons. Now understand, when we take these guns, bad guys aren't just giving up these guns voluntarily. They're sieged to relentless investigation and aggressive police work by our officers. Many times this involves physical confrontation, a foot pursuit, or the sweat and blood of our officers in doing their duties. The average, we had a 17% increase versus our 2012 numbers, averaging 1.67 crime guns per day. Illegal guns. In 2013, the Orlando Police Department Gang Unit, working in conjunction with Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or ATF, worked local gun shows at the Central Florida Fairgrounds in an effort to reduce and eliminate illegal gun sales that would take place in or about these areas. You see the picture here, one of the results of our joint investigations. These guns left out on the streets, you can see the damage that could be done with them. We also serve notice that local law enforcement is monitoring this type of event. This event also serves to allow us to work closely with our federal partners and therefore seek federal prosecution in these cases. In 2013, we experienced 19 homicides citywide. This resulted in a 30% decrease versus our 2012 number. You'll note 74% clearance rate, which exceeds the national average. Another of our successes is our Joint Homicide Investigative Task Force, or JHIT. JHIT is comprised of the homicide investigators of OPD and the homicide investigator of our smaller municipal agency. This process allows us to gain valuable experience and to increase the homicide investigation knowledge base of all participating agencies. The cases, they investigated 4 cases this year, and you see they resulted in a 75% clearance rate. These cases occurred in the cities of Ocoee, Winter Park, and Apopka. One of these cases involved a young man who's accused of brutally murdering his mother. This here is one of our stellar investigators, Detective Mike Mareschi, who received the Award of Excellence for career achievement from the International Homicide Investigators Association. Detective Mareschi is a leader in the field of working cold cases and in investigations involving DNA matches for solving homicides and violent crime. This slide here is very disturbing. Human trafficking, sex slavery is happening right under our noses. According to StopHumanTrafficking.org, 20.9 million people worldwide, 2.5 million in the United States, and even more alarming, 100,000 children in America are affected by human trafficking. So this is a serious problem that we're dealing with worldwide. Now imagine your 14, 15, 16-year-old daughter or any loved one trapped by force or coercion into selling their body or performing a sex act for money from a handler, a pimp, a flesh peddler, or whatever you want to call it. It sickens us that we have to deal with this, but even worse, there's a market for this behavior. Metropolitan Bureau of Investigation is our primary investigative agency for human trafficking. One of our own, Sergeant Pat Lucan, who is assigned to MBI, received the Officer of the Year in the Investigative Bureau of Human Trafficking from Governor Rick Scott. He was also honored for his role in rescuing a sixth victim of human trafficking. He helped to conduct over 50 training sessions throughout the state on human trafficking. Our first responding officers received training in recognizing characteristics and signs of human trafficking. If you'll note the age of the 14-year-old girl that's rescued here. Drug Enforcement Division, or DED, has the primary responsibility for reducing or eliminating street-level drug sales. Here you see a record of our seizures for the year. Our focus is not only in the number of arrests, which may vary from year to year, but in the quality of case investigations for successful prosecution. Also housed here is our drug hotline at 407-246-CRACK, or C-R-A-K, 2725, where citizens can call in and they leave an anonymous drug complaint or tip for mandatory follow-up. Next slide. Metropolitan Bureau of Investigation, or MBI. In addition to human trafficking and vice investigations, MBI has the primary responsibility of drug investigations that exceed street-level sales. Using a team approach of investigators, MBI, investigators from local law enforcement agencies, MBI targets large drug ring operations and monitors pain management clinics for compliance. But also note the nexus between drugs and gun and the potential for violent confrontation with police that you've heard about. Next slide. DED, also working in conjunction with the Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, organizes and conducts a prescription drug take-back program. This program allows citizens to turn in the outdated, old prescription drugs at pre-designated locations in the city and the county. Orlando has been one of the largest collection areas in this program. You'll see this year we received over 2,000 pounds of prescription drugs. Yeah. 2,000 pounds, 1 ton. Imagine, the average American automobile weighs between 3,500 and 4,000 pounds. If you get a trash bag full of prescription drugs, that equals half the American automobile. Kind of sets a picture of what we're doing. Responsibility Matters is an awareness program developed and implemented in our middle and high schools by our school resource officers. Responsibility Matters is as a result of things that we noticed by children in that age group. Because the chief had mentioned cell phones being stolen and electronics, but we wanted to let the kids know that decisions that they make today can impact them in the future. Thefts of items such as Xbox, iPads, laptops, and other electronics of that nature, valued over $300, can carry a felony charge or conviction. A felony charge or conviction can hamper them in future financial aid needs, preclude them from going in the military, or prevent them from being hired in certain jobs. We have banners and posters placed in the schools in strategic locations where it would impact the most students. We also had, you'll notice my blue wristband, Responsibility Matters bands and brochures, which I have some here on the table, that were distributed to students at the beginning of the school year. Next slide. School safety. In late 2012, December, Sandy Hook, where 20 innocent students and 6 adults were killed. That incident shook parents everywhere. In response, the Orlando Police Department conducted over 40 on-site vulnerability studies in our elementary, middle, and high schools in the city. In the city of Orlando, we have 8 middle schools, 5 high schools, and 23 elementary schools. Our officers with crime prevention certifications help conduct these assessments along with a school staff member who is most familiar with their given school. Mayor Dyer and Chief Rooney decided that we would address these school safety issues via technology and training as the most efficient and effective way of dealing with this problem. I did want to mention our St. James School exercise was the largest event of that scale in the state of Florida, involving Orlando Police Department, Orange County Sheriff's Office, FBI, FDLE, Homeland Security, and CSTEX. Operation Positive Direction is our youth mentoring program that targets at-risk middle and high school students. These students are paired with an OPD officer or employee, both sworn and civilian. Educational achievement, goal setting, and life skills are shared with the student. Operation Positive Direction students jointly work with our Paramore Kids Zone activities, such as the Dragon Boat races that you'll hear. We had 6 students who were accepted this year into their respective colleges. Finally, I will conclude with our Dragon Boat video. The Dragon Boat video will show you Dragon Boat activities which the students participated in.
Go Dueling Dragons!
Not every adventure begins with a send-off by the Chief of Police and the Director of Families, Parks, and Recreation, but this one did.
I'm so proud of each and every one of you. You've worked very, very hard to get to this point. Remember, the most important thing is working together. And you'll remember this trip for the rest of your lives.
As a police officer and being involved in this program, you have the opportunity to be that replacement for them, that positive role model that they didn't have growing up.
We were introduced into it by Operation Positive Direction at Jones High School. So pretty much I have absolutely no experience.
We're all new at this. We all start at the same level. So no matter if you're a police officer or a high school, middle schooler, we're all on the same level.
These cops were like role models. Like, they were always encouraging and pushing us to go forward and go on with anything that we decided to do.
We want them to learn that it's very important that when you go out and do things that you give them back.
Good morning, I'm Deputy Chief John Meehan. I'm in charge of the Patrol Services Bureau, and I'm going to talk about some of our crime-fighting initiatives. First up, we have our patrol TAC units. Very proud of this unit. There's 30 men and women whose sole purpose and mission is to deter and combat violent crime. And as you can see, they're very successful. 164 guns this year. That's a 20% increase from last year. 759 felony arrests, over 1 kilo of cocaine seized, over 31 pounds of cannabis seized, 19 grams of heroin, $184,000 in cash, and 25 vehicles seized that were used in the commission of a felony. And there is no doubt in our minds that they affect violent crime day in and day out. Next, I want to talk about our Summer Crime Initiative that we do, and that's an initiative where we take officers from all over the department during the summer months, detectives, school resource officers, internal affairs investigators, and we put them in our high crime areas or problem areas. And you can see they're very successful as well. 48 felonies, 14 guns seized this year. I also want to talk about our DUI enforcement team. And this is a part-time team. All these officers on the DUI enforcement team have other functions in patrol, but they are funded through a grant through the Florida Department of Transportation for $100,000. So they do their DUI details separate from the patrol functions, and they were able to make 482 DUI arrests. We're very proud of them because that's 69% of the department's total. Every year they are recognized by Mothers Against Drunk Driving for their efforts in DUI. Each year we participate in the Kicks for Guns program, and this is a program where people, no questions asked, can turn in their unwanted firearms. And the benefit to them is they get rid of that firearm that's sitting around that they don't want, and they also receive gift cards from our community partners, Target, VP, and Walmart. The benefit to us is that these unwanted firearms that happen to be sitting in a desk drawer or in a closet or in someone's car that they've forgotten about and people don't want could be stolen and they could be used in a crime. And God forbid if that gun is found by a child, you know, we don't want that to happen. So that's why we this is one of 8 events that happen in the region, and you can see 1,000 guns collected from people who don't want firearms. Operation Holiday Cheer is an operation that we do during the holiday months, much like Summer Crime Initiative. It runs from Thanksgiving to New Year's, and basically the same as Summer Crime Initiative. We use officers from all over the department who are normally signed out street. We put them in our shopping areas, as crime outlets, Mall Millennia, Fashion Square Mall, and they're basically out there contacting suspicious people, doing traffic stops, and arresting people. And not only did the bad guys, they knew we were out there, and the citizens knew we were out there as well. They felt safe doing their shopping this year. Thanks. And it's not all about crime fighting. One of Chief Screening's initiatives was the elderly. And so we adopted the Adopt an Elderly program, and it's nothing formal, but basically when an officer goes to a crime scene or makes contact with someone elderly, it's going that extra step and checking in on them from time to time and seeing how they're doing. So not only do we take extra special attention to the elderly at the scene of the crime, we go back and follow up with them to see how they're doing. And we're happy to announce that we have one of our elderly persons, Miss Betty Williams. I know, did you want to say a couple words?
Good morning. Happy that I'm not witness all this that's going on. It's amazing that you don't understand what you people are doing. You are at war, not in the United States, I think, but you come out every day and you have to teach up the people. It is a sacrifice on their life. You must remember that. And I'm so happy to be here and to learn what is going on in the community. I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you. Betty Williams is actually someone that our community service officer, Marcus Villa, checks in on from time to time. And you know, the officers, they like putting bad guys in jail, but I think they really get a lot out of taking care of our elderly.
Good morning. I'm Deputy Chief Rod Pigman, and I have the Special Services Bureau. In addition to that, I'm also the high-risk incident commander for the department. And basically what that means, I have charge of the SWAT team, the crisis negotiation team, the emergency response team, the emergency services unit. And it's well represented out here today. You'll see all the heavy assets that we have on display for you. And you'll be welcome to take a look at all those assets after we finish here. In terms of my role as the Special Services Bureau Commander, I have 3 separate divisions within my command, including the Special Operations Division, which includes our motors, our mounted, our K-9, our Marine Patrol, and our Reserve Unit. In addition to that, I also have the Airport Division, and of course everyone knows Orlando International Airport is very busy. They've got plans for expansion, so there's always something going on at the airport. And then lastly, out of the Downtown Community Policing Division, which within that division we have Foxtrot and Delta Patrol Squads that patrol our downtown or our Paramore areas. We also have our Community Relations Unit within the Downtown Community Policing Division. Then lastly, we have both our volunteer program and our Neighborhood Watch program. And so I wanted to highlight just a few things that we've accomplished over the year within the Special Services Bureau, including special events, Operation Best Foot Forward, National Night Out, and again, our volunteer program. Starting off with special events, Orlando is a world-class city. We're always busy, and we do know how to handle large events and large crowds. And this year was no exception. Of course, we had the fireworks at the fountain, always a big draw. We hosted 10 parades, 29 foot races downtown, 18 walks. We had 2 nationally televised bowl games recently, as you know. And don't forget about Classic Week, the Classic Weekend as well. And we have events, 135 that we staffed this year, including concerts and Predator games and Magic games and all that goes on there. And let's not forget about Orlando City soccer games. We're all excited about soccer, and it's going to be a big year coming up for Major League Soccer in Orlando. We're looking forward to that. Just one slide, and the video, go ahead and click it. It speaks for itself, and I'll talk about it.
The Capital One Bowl committee people, they do it as well as anybody in the country. This is a favorite bowl game of mine, and I think our team also, when we're fortunate enough to get here. And I also want to applaud the Orlando Police Department, the escort service we've got, Coach. Unbelievable, wasn't it?
It just goes to show you that the Orlando Police Department is very capable. We're very safe with our escorts. No matter if it's the President of the United States or our bowl game participants, we do it right. And it's very nice to have Coach for your acknowledge us for that. I'd like to talk about Operation Best Foot Forward, also run out of our Special Operations Division. And what that is basically a program to educate and encourage folks to watch out for pedestrians. And we've done several operations over the year to try and educate folks. And basically, you see the numbers up there, 11 operations. We had 279 contacts, 189 warnings, and 90 citations, yes. But again, it's all about safety. And it's not just the drivers we're targeting. We're targeting pedestrians as well. We want them to use the crosswalks and be safe. And so, again, this is an excellent program, and I think we're seeing the benefits of our actions here in our efforts. National Night Out. Mayor Dyer mentioned National Night Out, and we are the champions. This year we achieved first place, and we've been running third, in the top 3 for many, many years, but this year we brought home the gold. And it's through the dedication and hard work of our Neighborhood Watch unit and all the folks who participate in Neighborhood Watch citywide, all the citizens, all the block captains, all the people that come together. There are eyes and ears out there, and we need their help, and we appreciate their help. And they've done an excellent job this year. They had over 64,000 folks participate in National Night Out parties or events. It could be, we had several different events, including a women's self-defense seminar. We had senior safety seminars. We had Hispanic safety seminars. And 64,000+ participated in these events. We had 80 block captains that hosted parties. And we were recognized as #1 in the United States for a city of our size, which is 100 to 299,000 citizens. Wonderful. And we hope to repeat next year. And I'd like to recognize our Neighborhood Watch folks and all the Neighborhood Watch people that participate in Neighborhood Watch. They've done an outstanding job representing Orlando and brought home the gold. Lastly, volunteers. We are so blessed to have over 300 volunteers at the Orlando Police Department, and they really make us shine. They come from all walks of life, and they help us in so many different ways. The Orlando Police Department is truly a better off as an agency with our volunteers. Now, with 300+ volunteers, I can't mention everybody, but I would like to take a moment to recognize Mr. Harold Stewart, who's with us today, also known as Captain Harold Stewart, of the Flying Tigers. You might have heard of them. So he is truly an American hero, and he's recently celebrated his 95th birthday. Shame on me, and I did have a piece of that cake, and it was wonderful. Mr. Stewart serves as an inspiration, not only to our volunteers, but to all of us. And we welcome him, and we honor you, sir, for your dedication, and we thank you for your time and your talents.
All I got to say, Orlando Police Department, the finest, and there is, the best. I'm proud to serve as a volunteer. There's a little advantage to being a senior citizen. There's also a drawback. You lose your hearing, you lose your vision. But my battery is still working.
I serve as the staff director for Chief Paul Rooney. I'm going to talk to you about domestic violence efforts. To victims of domestic violence, it's not enough that we effectively reduce violence on our streets if they're not feeling safe behind their own front doors. Every day and every night we arrest people who commit domestic violence acts. We know it's not enough, so we do more. We have a dedicated detective from our assault and battery unit that is partnered with the Harbor House Advocate. What they do, their sole responsibility is to follow up with victims of intimate partner violence and assist them with their cases and crimes. This partnership has resulted in a higher level of service to these victims. I'm also proud to tell you that we have the only domestic violence response team in Central Florida of all the law enforcement agencies. This response team is made up of over 50 specially trained police officers who respond citywide. And what they do is they follow up with the victims of domestic violence, and they ensure that the offender has not returned to the residence. And they also assist the victims with any old cases that they might have issues with, especially going through a court system. It's pretty difficult. The biggest compliment we received in reference to this domestic violence response team is Domestic Violence Commission recognized our team as a best practice for law enforcement. And they recommended that our model be replicated throughout all the law enforcement agencies in Central Florida. Not just those efforts, we participate, as the mayor stated earlier, in numerous community awareness events. One such event was our extremely successful door hanging event, which we had over 700 volunteers from throughout the Central Florida community assist us in reaching over 20,000 homes. I believe this is why we remain the leaders and models for domestic violence initiatives. Largely due to reputation, next slide, is largely due to all the efforts of the men and women of the Orlando Police Department. But special recognition today is going to go to Police Service Officer Roland Clee. Roland is in the back of the room. I have to Roland is considered our in-house domestic violence activist. He is credited year after year with bringing together a variety of community leaders and various organizations to bring new initiatives and enhanced assistance to these victims of domestic violence. And Roland, a lot of people definitely have commended you for that, but I don't think I've ever seen the governor and attorney general commend somebody. So right here, he is being presented with one of the highest awards in the state of Florida. It recognizes outstanding victim services to our domestic violence victims in the state of Florida. We're extremely proud of Officer Roland Clee and his continued efforts for domestic violence initiatives in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Sergeant Jim Young, Media Relations, Orlando Police Department. I'm honored to be the media representative and the spokesperson for the Orlando Police Department. I'm very proud of this department, so whenever speaking for this department and for Chief Rudy, I'm humbled and honored at the same time. Great things in the media. I think this year, I actually started just over a year ago in this position as the full-time media relations person, and I'm hoping that the media is happy with my responses and response time information that we can get out to you, because we know that the public needs to be informed for major incidents. The mayor touched on it earlier. In addition to dealing with local media, our social media has increased, and we were named one of the top 50 social media friendly sites for police departments in the U.S. This year, increasing our Facebook likes over 25%. We're well over 5,000 now, and our Twitter followers have doubled in 2013. So we're increasing our use of social media. We know we can't do our job without the media. The media relies on us for a lot of our information to go out there, so it's important that we get it out there. I think we've been able to accomplish a lot in 2013. In addition, we've added an email response from the watch commanders to be able to email the news desk during major events, during non-business hours in 2013, so that the news media can alert the public to ongoing major events in a timely fashion. Thank you.
In conclusion, what's going on in 2014? Hey Jim, I looked over at the media when you said, you know, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. And actually they did, all thumbs up. So you owe them all lunch after this. All right, so 2014, what are we going to do? Well, we have our goals listed over there if you want to look at them, but let's just talk about the new Orlando Police Headquarters. Mark Schlup, I got to talk to Mark. He quoted me in the paper today saying, you know, Rooney says we're not going to spend a bunch of money to keep the officers inside sitting around in the building. Now, who's ever been misquoted by the media? Joking, guys. What I meant to say is we spend millions of dollars. We spend millions of dollars with our patrol vehicles, our computers, to keep the officers in the community that they serve. So anyways, it is what it is. But we're excited about our new building. Probably next 2.5, 3 years out, we'll be over on Orange Blossom Trail between South and Anderson with Woods on the east. And looking forward to a $40 million state-of-the-art building. Next. IACP's coming to town. I don't know if you remember, but this is a huge conference. This is the International Association of Chiefs of Police. It's like the Super Bowl of training for police chiefs all throughout the world, international. We are going to host it again in 2014, later this year in October, and it's a big event. We hosted it in 2010. Again, we got it this year, and then we'll have it one more time in 2018. They just rotated between Chicago, Philadelphia, San Diego, and then Orlando. So it's an honor to have it. And believe me, people are looking forward to it. I was up in Philadelphia, and they're looking forward to having it in Orlando here. Next. We are going to be moving the mounted patrol, we call it the barn, the relocation of the facility to Trotters Park. And that's all due to the renovations of the Citrus Bowl. With the expansion and everything, we are going to be moving. So we'll be moving that, and we already have a plan in place, and it's going to be a nice facility, and we're looking forward to it. And as you came in, you saw our new mobile command center, $600,000 vehicle. Next question, how'd you pay for it? If you notice some of those slides, MBI had a very good year, over $3 million seized in cash. We get a slice of that, and we paid, this vehicle is $600,000. Every month, we put back a replacement cost for each vehicle. Okay, body-worn cams. We're kicked off a study this month, actually, where we're going to be out there. Brian, come up here real quick. We are looking at body-worn cams. Why? Well, because everybody and their brother has a cell phone out there, and a lot of times they're videotaping us after the subject has already kicked us, punched us, whatever the confrontation may be. So we are going to have, we call it the third independent eye. Third independent eye, where we'll have from start to finish what happened, what the encounter was all about, from start to finish. And we're hoping to look at reducing officer injuries, suspect injuries, false allegations. Did the officer, during a traffic stop, did he use profanity? How was he aggressive towards you? And we'll have it recorded. We kick off the study with 50 cameras on the street and 50 in a control group, so we can compare apples to apples. And then at the end of the year, we'll look at everything and see whether it's in the Orlando Police Department's best efforts to go forward with the program. So pretty interesting. There's a lot of things we need to still work out. And I've talked to police chiefs and sheriffs all over the country, and they said, whatever you do the study, do it right. Because there's some legal issues, there's public records issues, there's privacy issues, and we're going to do it right. We're going to, as we go along, we're going to look at the policies, look at the legal issues, and link to them. Thanks, Brian. And that's just, again, just how it can be worn. And then lastly, and I have to stress this, I joke with the media all the time, and the mayor touched on it, we need you more than ever. To our community, our volunteers, community members, we need them more than ever. That's the only way we're going to be successful. And that is teaming up with the community. Because without the community, the programs, Andrea, thank you, the kids, without that, we will never be as successful as we can be. So that's the theme in 2014. Again, working very close with the community to build those bonds, and we all have the same goal, and that is to make Orlando a safer neighborhoods and work with the business owners and tourists, as we mentioned before. So, and then the last slide is just a thank you to everybody. Really, this is a thank you to the Orlando Police Department, the hard work. You saw it today. I started off by saying how humbled and proud I am. Well, I'm even more humbled and proud as I stood through this presentation, because we have done a lot of good work throughout the year. And these are just a couple of events, the Polar Plunge from Special Olympics, raising money for them, as well as the Torch Run. So with that, again, on behalf of the Orlando Police Department, thank you for taking your time out of your busy day to be here today. Truly, thank you.